everybody. This is Carmen Vega, and I'm here with Michael Tolleson Robles of the Merida, Yucatan, Mexico Gallery Robles, I do believe. I'm here to ask him some questions about his artwork and about his life. So thank you very much, Mr. Robles, for being here. I appreciate that. First of all, let's talk about genre. I was looking at some of your work that you share quite frequently, and it seems, it's not abstract, but it's could be expressionistic in a way, and then color means something to you. So how would you describe your work?
Okay, first of all, you have to understand that I'm autistic, and the abilities I have come through my savant abilities, which means I've never had training. I have no background in art. And this gift that comes from me is purely my own. Now, what tends to kind of float to the surface is color. I love color and emotions. And while most people think that autistics are very non-emotional, I find that in contrast to what they believe, I am highly emotional. I'm highly empathic. So my art is always emotional and always colorful. And if I had to put it in a genre, I probably would go to expressionism. Uh, Sometimes it goes a little impressionistic. There are times that it gets a little more impressionistic with a slant toward realism. But it's because I paint basically, depending on the subject matter, it depicts how I will paint. So if something feels very wild and colorful and full of energy, then it tends to get very abstract expressionistic. So it's my styles kind of just vary. I mean, I've been compared to Van Gogh, Monet, a lot of the Fauvists. I don't know.
I see the fauvism. Yeah, the wild beast. Yeah, I get that. I get that. It's very, very visceral. Yeah. So, what is your ethnicity, and how old were you when you realized that you were an artist?
So there's a couple of kind of interesting things. First of all, I am by heritage half Mexican. So my mother was born in the States. My grandparents came from northern Mexico. Uh, you know, uh, Life is about our normals. And whether or not it's you, whether or not it's students, whether or not it's any person on the street, the life we live feels normal to us. And my childhood was Mexican without me understanding it was Mexican. So I spent a lot of time with my grandparents. We did things that I thought were normal, but I'm come to find out they're normal for Mexico. They're not normal for the United States. So my grandfather would paint the bottom base of the trees white. He would dig a hole and do a Mexican barbecue called barbacoa. So he would create that. My grandmother made Mexican soup every Sunday, and we all went down and
Was it like
gathered together.
albondigas or menudo? What are you talking about on
No,
Sunday?
it's a beef vegetable soup with beef shank, and everyone's got their own taste in what they like and don't like. Uh, this particular soup has bone marrow, and my sister and I would fight over the bone marrow so we could put it in a tortilla with a little salt and a little salsa.
Oh,
So, I mean, I was having that as my childhood, and I'm thinking, well, doesn't everyone have a childhood like that? But the
right,
truth is no, we
right.
don't.
And you were living in Texas at that
In
time.
Texas,
Yeah, yeah.
in a small Texas town. And so that is really my childhood. And so if I really have to reach into my soul and say, how do I feel? I feel more Mexican than European.
Yeah.
And that's one of the reasons living here in Mexico, why I had no culture shock. I had no adjustment. I just came here and I go, oh, I'm here around my people. I'm good.
You know,
So
of all the Mexican artists, like if you bring to mind like Frida Kahlo or Diego Rivera, but it's specifically Frida Kahlo because she was German and Mexican, you know, ancestry, but she's typically only seen as, you know, a Mexican artist. And so is that kind of like where how you feel is that you've embraced
well,
living living there and being that's your identity?
well, first of all, it's interesting because my name is Michael Tolleson in the United States. Well, the custom in Mexico is you use your paternal name and then your maternal name.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm Michael Tolleson Robles because it pulls the maiden name of my mother.
Yeah.
So, it's kind of weird. I mean, the first time someone says to me, goes, Mr. Robles, I'm like, who are they talking to? But I'm the one who put that name on it, so I should be okay with it.
Yeah,
But
I'm hyphenated with Vega, but I'm Johnson Vega, so I got that, you know, going on too. I appreciate that, but by marriage. So
and I'm autistic. So,
yeah,
the thing is that as an autistic, and particularly on that Asperger side of the autism, we're used to having points of reference and we reference those. So, I can create this new name, but until someone uses it, I have no point of reference for it. So it completely takes me by surprise.
oh
You
yeah,
you asked one other thing on that question. I know I'm doing the Asperger thing. I'm very gapped.
no, it's okay. Go ahead.
You asked about when I started to paint.
Yes.
Uh, I didn't paint till 9 years ago. And in true savant fashion, I picked up a paintbrush and I could paint. My third painting sold at an art gallery for $4,100. That's my third painting.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, in the course of the 9 years that I have been painting, probably I'm in excess of 1,500 paintings. Uh, you know,
That's quite prolific for any artist. You know,
crazy.
and so I'm curious, when did you start to do that full time and be able to make that your profession, how you made a living as opposed to a hobby?
Well, I had less than 20 paintings I'm getting in art galleries. Uh, within, well, it's kind of a convoluted thing, but what eventually happened is I didn't know I was autistic, and I didn't know that I was an artist. So all of a sudden, artist drops in my lap, and here I am. I'm painting. I'm getting in art galleries, uh, and I have no clue that I'm autistic. So uh, what eventually happened is just kind of just by fate, started working with autistic children because there were no programs in the school for art for them. And mentoring art, you start to recognize yourself in others. And so after a while, it was understood I am them. And more than that, I was more the Asperger parents. That's really who I was.
Right. I
And
understand. So I was ready to visit San Miguel de Allende to see your gallery there, but can you talk a little bit about what happened to either the politics or the economy that had you moving elsewhere?
so when so 4 years ago when I decided to move to Mexico, I researched and I looked for a town that had a very strong artist population, had a lot of galleries, had people that came to look for art, and San Miguel was very high on the list. It's a mountain town, the climate's good, nice expat community. So I moved there, and it was, in spite of the fact that Guanajuato State, which is around San Miguel, had some issues with the cartels, uh, San Miguel did not. Well, as in any country, when you get someone in politics who rises to the top and is contrary or does not follow what previous presidents or leaders have done, it can change an entire country. So Mexico got a new president, and he was very lax with the cartels. And the expression he uses is abrazos no balazos, which translates to hugs instead of gunfire. And so that's not a way to keep these people at bay. Uh, on top of that, then San Miguel at the same time elected a mayor. Not corrupt. He's corrupt. I mean, that's all there is to it. Probably he's being paid by the cartels, but the dynamics of that started to make it easy for cartel activity to move into San Miguel. The mayor refused to accept help, and some of the actions of the government cut off some of the funds of the cartels around the city. So they started to come into San Miguel to start to do extort businesses. Uh, Personally, I had robbers in my house 3 times. The last time it was someone in my living room with a knife, and each of the times I was there, the businesses around me were extorted, and it was time. It was just time. And I felt at home in Mexico, but I didn't feel safe in San Miguel. So again, Google search, whatever I did in order to research, and I came across Merida, and I found out that, of course, every rating system is different, but this particular one I read had its second highest on the list as far as being secure, safe, without issues with cartels, and one of the safest cities in the world behind Quebec City. So I was like, okay. So I checked it out. Weather-wise, it's hot. I mean, we do have our hot spots. Of course, right now, where you guys are freezing, I'm dealing with 70 and 80-degree weather. So
oh yeah, and
I'm okay.
I'm in Southern California, so we're doing okay right now. Yeah, but in Texas, I'm sure they're freezing for sure. At least they got their power back on. So let's talk about your autistic savant identity and how that. I remember looking at some of your news interviews and some of your other statements, and you talked about being able to visualize these images in your mind and not really having to refer to a reference source, and then just painting, it flowing out of you onto the canvas. Is that how it works?
Somewhat, but here's what happens. I need a visual source in order to stimulate me. I need to feel something. So if you look at any of my art, it has emotional impact. There is a feeling. Even a landscape will have a feeling about it. So when I look at a photo or a drawing or whatever, I actually feel the subject matter. Then I walk to the canvas, I put my paints out, and I let go. And I'm almost trance-like when I paint. Mm-hmm. I become hyper-focused. I don't know anything around me, and the painting creates itself.
Oh, I wondered when they had you on the news and you created a painting right then and there. And I thought, oh my goodness, that is excellent. That you tuned everything out and just, focused and did it.
Now, for autism, I mean, if we're autistic, we have no filters. So, even being here at this interview, my eyes, I still see the wind outside. I hear noises in the house. I have things that are catching my attention. I have no way to filter it out. And as an autistic, you must know that if we have a conversation with someone, that doesn't mean the world stops. That means the world is just around us, and we just happen to be able to conduct a conversation without worrying about what the rest of the world is doing. Right. But it's there, and we cannot stop it. So when I paint, it is the only time that all goes away, and I only know that. So there have been times when I have been on television or I've been filmed, and a cameraman would actually crawl under and shoot up while I'm painting, and I don't know they're there. I don't even know anything. Yeah. So later on to watch an interview, I'm like, oh, They were like under me when I was
How
painting.
did that happen? Yeah,
Now,
that's happened to me too. Yeah, I know what you're
because we
talking about.
hyper focus on those things that, and for me, it's painting. Now, now the interesting thing and the thing that sets me apart, first of all, is since the first painting I did to number 1600, 1700, I don't know where we are, they all can go in an art gallery. Every single one. So every single one has been gallery quality. Um, Second of all, like about 5 years ago, I'm on the Nokia stage for an event for Temple Grandin, and I'm with Ed Asner and Joe Montea from Criminal Minds and some other people, and I'm painting, and they asked me to complete a painting quickly because a singer is singing two songs, and I need to be done. So a 3 foot by 4 foot painting of a horse I completed in 10 minutes on stage while this guy sang two songs.
Oh
And it
wow.
doesn't feel like anything. It feels like my
Wow.
normal. So my usual paintings that you see never take me more than a few hours.
Right.
Most of the
Right.
time, the thing that kind of draws it out is I need dry time for one layer to dry so I don't have my hand in wet paint while I'm trying to get another part done. So I'm all of these paintings, and everyone always says, "Oh, the detailing." I'm thinking, what detail? I don't even know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Because in
Yeah.
my mind, it goes so fast, I don't feel like I detail anything out.
Right. Right. It is very, and you use a palette knife, correct? And you're
I
working
use brush and palette knife.
brush
It's
and
whatever. And
okay.
I never use, if I'm using palette knives, I never use exclusively palette knife through the entire painting for the most part. I mean, there have been exceptions, but usually I use a combination of both. Now I
Right.
do some paintings that are only brush work,
Wow. Okay.
but I like I like color. So the palette knife is really good to get a strong splash of color across the painting.
Yeah. Now, I know that people from all over the world collect your paintings, and I'm wondering if you could explain to our artists what is it when you enter into a series, like for instance your women's series or your angst series or any of these other series of paintings, and do you ever allow for people to commission artwork from you that they want, or does it just it's whatever is available after you work?
I do a lot of commissions. I do many, many, many commissions. Now, the only thing about it is because of the savant abilities, I need to feel. So I had one gentleman who asked me to paint a sailboat that he had a photo of from when he was in college. So he asked me to do it, and I said, I can't paint a thing. I can't do a bowl of fruit. I said, tell me about it. And he told me how he felt as a young man, and he was probably in his 60s, and he's telling me the excitement that he had when he was 20 something in this boat, in these tropical lands and all this. And I felt it. And I felt what he needed to see. And I painted this commission. I can do lots of commissions. I just need to feel. And I've never taken and and a lot of us who are autistic are very empathic. I took his feelings and I translated it on a canvas. And when I do a commission, that's what I usually do. And I've never had a commission turned down because I felt them and I translated their feelings onto a canvas.
That's great. And that's the essence of expressionism right there. It's just, it is an emotion, it is a feeling, it is, and I get that from your work when I look at it. You know, later on we'll ask you to choose a few, maybe 10 or 20 of your favorites, and then while I'm showing this interview, we can be also looking at the art, because I
Yeah,
think that's
important.
really it's really important to look at the art when we talk about it. So,
You talked about I'm going to go back to the
yeah,
part
sure.
of the question, and the question is about series. Well, series kind of evolved as my interest evolved and my subject matter. So when I first started, I was doing landscapes because honestly, I was scared. I was scared to death. I didn't know what I was doing. There's this thing that's just coming out, and here's these paintings appearing, and I'm doing landscapes. So then I was like, well, maybe I should try building. So then I'm doing a building. Now I have no training. I don't know perspective. I don't know shading. I don't know anything. But I was painting buildings, and they were coming out. And I was like, okay, so maybe I'll do animals next. So what should I do? And since we were working with autistic kids at the time with the mentoring, I was like, well, they do horse therapy. Let me try horses. So my horse series evolved. And everything has led to one thing to the other, to the other, to the other. And every time I challenge my autism, every time I challenge my ability, it always comes out, but it sends me in a different direction. I mean, for years and years and years, I'm known for my horses, and I'm in Santa Fe in one of the galleries with my horse art. But lately, I'm a figurative artist. I'm painting people, and I'm painting emotions, and I'm painting journeys, and because that's where the journey has taken me. That's where this is evolved to.
Okay. One thing that, when I went to university, the one thing that was really jarring was how expensive the materials are. Paints and canvases, they're not cheap. They've ruined many an artist over time, over it. I was also an art history major, so I studied that, many artists were not appreciated in their own time. So my question is, you have a studio space that you maintain. You have an artist who works with you too there, and a co-owner, of course. And how does it balance between maintaining a physical studio and purchasing all of the paints and the brushes and the canvases, whatever, and advertisement, whatever you do, or social media, and then the actual income? How does it balance? It's much more lucrative, the income from your art, than it is to support a habit of making art?
I There's two things that happened. When I started, I had a job, and so I was funding my art through my job. And then we were also working doing the mentoring. And somewhere along the line, it came to the point where we decided that the journey to help others was more important than anything. At one point, I had an art studio and a showroom and was doing mentoring out of it. And I didn't have enough money to have a house and the studio.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, many people don't know that at that time in my life, I went to the storage area of that studio and I slept on the floor
Mm-hmm.
because my dream was to spread awareness and to help others and to push forward. And where I am now is 9 years after I started. And where I am now is because I have committed myself to a couple of things. One is to being a professional artist, and one is to never turning down an opportunity to be interviewed or to. I'm writing a book right now. A publisher has asked me to write a book about my life, and in it is the struggle of an autistic from childhood on.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't had an official diagnosis except for maybe 5 years of my life. I'm 63, and I didn't know I was autistic. Uh, you know, but the bottom line about the artist and is the fact if you want to be something, you have to be passionate. And with that passion, that means you get up and you breathe it, you think it, you are that person, every single day. I I've always heard the story of people who waited tables in Hollywood, and they were asked by people, "What do you do for a living?" They said, "Well, I'm an actor, but I'm waiting tables to make, my money."
Right.
Well, the truth is, if you're an artist, you're an artist, and you have to breathe it and live it. And not only am I an artist, I'm an autistic artist. I can make it without anyone knowing I'm on the spectrum.
Yeah.
I won't do it because
Right.
how is that going to help someone who is on the spectrum and needs a role model, needs to know
You
that
know,
we're out there?
that's a really important point that I've been struggling with myself as an autistic, having a very late diagnosis. I have a couple of professional diagnoses, and what I've struggled with is that when I was much younger, masking was taught to me by my mother. And I mean, I could just she did such a good job. Just I think she just didn't want me to embarrass her. So she made sure that I fit in and I blended in with my peers. But as I age, as I get older, I'm going to be 50 in March. I I struggle a little bit more because I don't see the value in masking as much as I used to. Does that make any sense? Like
Well,
you
first of
kind of
all,
become more yourself.
yeah, first of all, people have a misperception that you need to have lots of friends and you need to be popular with lots of people. That's not an autistic trait. Our trait is that we gravitate toward one or two people, and they are the people that we tend to like to have around us, and
Yeah.
they're the people that understand us and that we have dialogue with. The rest of it is like, I've had people that I consider friends come and go in my life. Truthfully, when they get in the car and they drive off and they're gone, I'm like, oh, okay. And then we go on to the next. It's because we don't have that attachment to having lots of people. Masking is taught so that we can be popular and we can be
Yes.
like
Yes.
everybody else.
Yes.
I don't want to be popular. Truthfully, I'm very, very active on Facebook. I probably have between my art pages and my profile and all that, I have connections with about 20 and followers. I have about 20,000 people.
Yeah.
I enjoy them. I recognize people. There's people that I have dialogues with, and they've confided in me, and all great. But for an autistic, I don't need it.
Yeah.
What I do need is for those people that are on Facebook that I do reach out to and that I do things with, that they understand that my art comes from my autism. And that is my core value purpose. I have one thing that I need to do in this life. I don't need a lot of money. I don't need to live this high life. What I need is to leave a legacy of hope.
Right.
That is it. That's it. That's the only thing I'm living for.
Of course.
And I know I'm talking in circles, but I want to go back to something.
No, go ahead.
Started. If you're an artist, you need to be an artist. And Facebook for me is a vehicle. I don't do Instagram. I don't do others because my clientele and the people that buy my paintings are older. So I go to the social media that works for someone older, and that's Facebook. Instagram, I'm on.
The people that can afford your work are older, right?
No, not all. I mean, but unfortunately, I have a price tag. It's not huge,
No.
but it's, if you buy a painting, you may spend.
It's more than fair, and I'm just teasing you because I feel like you do have these connections with people of all ages and all over the world, and in a way, in a sense, that makes you very popular as a human, and even just being connected with anybody. I mean, you and I have known each other for years, but this is the first time we're talking this way, and I've always felt connect. I get to see your work every day. You post like a new painting every day or
every
two,
other day.
right?
It's like,
Yeah. That's
because
exciting.
that's how quick I do them.
Yeah.
And the thing is, Okay, I go back to artists, but it's also to being an advocate for autism.
Yeah.
I answer everything. If I get a comment, I try to answer. I try to at least say thank you. If it's overwhelming because I had a painting that hit, I'm like, some days I'm like, oh my God, what am I gonna do? And
Yeah.
I just do likes. I likes and loves
Yeah.
but I try, and if there's someone that has made a paragraph and they've sent me a comment and they've written, I'll always stop and I'll answer them and I will acknowledge them. I will answer a question if they have it because they took the time to reach out. I had a few people that sent me uh, personal messages on Messenger, and they go, "Well, I need to talk to Michael," and I go, "Okay." They say, "Can you get him on?" And I'm like, "I am on." They go,
Yeah.
"You're not an assistant?" I go,
Yeah.
"No, because
Yeah.
that's
Talk to my
how
people.
that's how big my reach is. My
Yeah.
reach is and how visible I am. But I've worked really, really hard at it. And honestly, when I get up in the morning, I look at my phone and I start to check messages. And I have my coffee in the morning and I'm answering. And I am on till when I go to bed at night, I still have my phone in my hand and I'm still answering things. If you're going to be serious about being an artist and being out in the world,
Mhm.
then be serious. You can't lead a couple of lives.
Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
have worked really, really hard at it. And I
I'm interested in I know you don't do other platforms, but I'm curious if you know what Cameo is, and celebrities use it to connect with their people, where you can pay a certain fee and then they'll, maybe do a birthday message for you, or they'll send a message of hope and support to you personally. They'll video a little clip and and it comes to you on your phone, or you could text back and forth with them. And that's just fascinating to me. I mean, even the president of Mexico, Vicente Fox, is on Cameo. And
I can
it's just,
imagine.
so many people do that. I mean, even people who I wouldn't know, from maybe they're like YouTubers or video gamers or, whatever, Olympic athletes, whatever. I don't know, like, it, do you like to, do that personal response with with your people, with your fan base, and
I do. One of the things is that I paint I paint very contemporary subjects. So whatever's happening in the world influences me and I paint based on that. I need to know what's happening with the pulse of the world when I do that.
yeah.
And the only way I can do that is to have connections with people. And I need to know their hurts and I need to know their hopes and I need to know what the world is doing right
Yeah. What I'm gonna say is that right now, students are distance learning, because of the pandemic. They're uh, they're not used to being so introverted and dependent on themselves for everything, entertainment and socialization, just everything. And it's very, very hard on them and their families, very hard. And so I'm just wondering, like, when you think back upon all the advice you've had in your life, like what can you say to the people out there who feel so very, very disconnected from life in general? What can you say to them now as they draw and paint at home alone?
The thing is that I always paint from within out. I don't paint from outside in. And one of those things is to paint how I feel, what it looks like to me, what it, you know, I once had a woman ask me about her son. She said he painted a tree. It didn't look like a tree. I said, it's a tree. Whether or not you know it's a
Yeah.
tree, it's a tree because he felt that tree. The thing is, if you're alone and you're doing art at home, then paint from within. Paint how you feel. Paint whatever interests you. Uh, and it is hard to be at home. One of the things that that we have trouble with is everyone has their own normal, whether or not you're a student at home, whether or not you're the parents, everyone is struggling in their own ways. And it's hard to be kind to everyone because we're frustrated ourselves and we have no way of knowing that everyone around us is also frustrated. And when everyone is frustrated, sometimes we're unkind to each other.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the easiest way to communicate when we're in those type of situations, if you share how you feel and you say it in that way, you look at your parent, you look at your brother, sister, you look at whoever, and you say, I am feeling, and you let them know.
Mm-hmm.
That gives them an opportunity to say, I am feeling this too, or I feel differently, because feelings are valid. No matter who we are, our feelings are valid. And if we're heard, we're less alone
Yeah.
and we're less isolated.
You
And
know,
particularly,
I talk to young adults. Sometimes they hide their feelings from, especially their family members, because they don't want to burden them. Like, oh, you know, mom is already working so hard, you know, and she has a really long day. When she comes home, the last thing she wants to hear is how I'm doing. And I always say to them, that's what mom wants to hear. Mom wants to hear nothing more than how are you doing? You
well,
know?
the thing is, and here's the problem, and this lies in the parent, not the child. And that is the parent has not said the obvious and has not addressed those kind of hidden feelings. And what they have not said is, I am your safe place. I am your parent. I will not judge you. I will always hear you. I may not like what you do, but you're the one doing it. And I need to hear about it if you want to share it with me.
Right, right. Absolutely. Yeah, we're all about social emotional learning, which um ironically, I'm very empathic as you are, as you mentioned. I feel things very deeply. I'm a highly sensitive person, and but people don't get that from our external appearance all the time. I'm not super smiley. I'm not very, I'm not very chatty as a role. Like, I'm asking you questions, but I bet you if I met you at a party, I wouldn't ask you one question. I would just, listen and, and maybe talk, but, I wouldn't dare ask you a
You
question.
wouldn't dig. You wouldn't dig for things.
No, I certainly wouldn't. And I don't ask follow-up questions either. And that's, to my detriment. So what do you say to folks, about, I don't know, like how you connect with, the world? And
you know what I do?
is there anything else that I forgot to ask you that you can follow up on and tell us that I haven't gone?
One of my attractive traits that I use on Facebook, which is come sincerely from me, is I'm vulnerable. I have no problem telling people my hurts. I have no problem telling people the things within myself that others may judge. I have no problem telling people what I have gone through in my life. And I've had a rough life. I've been an autistic that didn't know they were autistic, and I self-medicated some years and I did some terrible things. And you know what? I don't have any apologies for any of that because it made me who I am today.
Right.
But when I'm on Facebook and I speak of myself, I lay myself bare. And what I find is instead of people judging me, they say, you're hurt with that. Let me tell you about my hurt.
Yeah.
And everyone gets vulnerable together.
Yeah.
And we don't judge each other. And we're able to, the art and my written words about the art has been a vehicle for so much healing for so many people.
Right.
And it's because I won't hide. I won't hide anymore. I can't.
And that's good, because people do judge you for what, like even just us having a conversation, like, I'm autistic, we're part of the LGBT community. We are artists, like who are introverts sometimes and extroverts other times. all of these things, you know, it they come with judgment from society, judgment from our peers, judgment from coworkers, judgment from others. But I don't know, for me, it doesn't bother me as much. Like if someone's direct with me and they're just like, you know, I don't like that about you. I would rather know. Do you know what I mean? Than to
Well, you grew up. You grew up. What happened is your mother taught you to be fearful. Your mother taught you to always try to fit in and to be like other people.
yeah.
The truth is that the most attractive people are themselves. And I'm not like anyone else in the world, no one.
Mhm.
So, and people are drawn to the energy, they're drawn to the art, they're drawn to my personality.
And they're drawn to the authenticity of who you are.
They
Like your
are.
identity, there's not a thing about it that seems hypocritical or inconsistent.
So I'm in a relationship, but that relationship came from me being honest and growing up. So what happened with it is I had decided that I had enough failure in my life. I was not going to ever be with another person again. So when I got to the place of being at peace with myself, I was now ready for a relationship and I didn't know it.
Mhm.
But I met someone, we talked, and it started to get where we were connecting. I did the unthinkable. I said, we need to talk. These are my good points. And I listed everything that was a selling point that any person entering into a relationship would do.
Yeah.
Then I said, okay, so now we're going to talk about the deal breakers. I listed every single thing. I mean, I'm telling you, I turned over the rocks in order to find everything. And I said, these are all the reasons you should run now. And I said, I want you to know that if you do, I will not judge you, that you are free to walk away. But these are the things that are going to come back and nip me later if I don't tell you. And everything that I know that you might find some judgment about pertaining to me, you now know. And what it did, it released me.
Mhm.
I was free to live my life. I was free to have my little quirks. I was free to make my mistakes because they linked back to some of the things that I listed. I was without anything to ground me.
Right.
And it was one of the most incredible things I've done in my life because when you admit everything, there's nothing to be judged on.
Right.
The truth is, we
Right.
shouldn't anyway, but people do, and I was just setting the stage to be free of them.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. And I think maybe the people who are judging are just in some way envious of the fact that you can be who you are and unapologetically, you know, who you are, and just, you know, you're content, and you're not worried about being vulnerable, and you're not worried about you know, masking, or you're not worried about being something that you're not. That's really what I would like to communicate to the young artists out there too, is, you know, really don't they tend to gravitate towards the fan art. You know, they really tend to want to be copyists of people. And I say, you know, really, if you want to make a living with your art, you want to you know, originate something. It should be something that you created only. You know, you're not plagiarizing anybody, you're not ripping off trademarked imagery, you're, you know, who's going to make money from Spider-Man, Stan Lee, and, you know, the comic book franchise? Who's going to make money from your art? It should be you, and you should have every right to it. But I time and time again, I get artists submitting things that they copied from other artists, and, you know, I'm having a hard time communicating to them why we need to be original.
Well, one of the things is, so I said how hard I work as being a professional artist. We need to decide who are we doing this for, and what is the level we want to attain by it. If you're a professional artist, you're painting for more than yourself. even though it may originate in your art. But your audience is out there. If you're if you're a hobbyist and you just enjoy the technique and working with the particular materials and stuff, you can do Spider-Man forever. I mean,
Right.
that's for you.
Right.
It's
That's
like
fine. Yeah.
enjoy it, But if you're thinking, well, I'm really good at this, I need to be selling this. Well, no, you don't, because that's not yours. And now you need to take the skills you have learned and
Yeah.
apply them to something. Now, the art school says that we find our thing, we find our niche, our style, our whatever,
Yeah.
and then we just go at it, go at it, go at it. Well, as you know by seeing my art, that's not who I
No.
am.
No.
I mean, I don't think you can put two paintings together and go,
No, you're
oh,
reinventing yourself all the time. It's new and different all the time. And I think just like me, I would be bored if I did the same thing over and over again.
and that's what and that's the autism. We're bored.
Yeah.
I have had to recreate a painting for a commission for someone.
Mm-hmm.
And I just let them know it's not going to be the same because I can't go there again. The emotions and who I am now were not the same as when I did that. It will be similar in feeling, but it won't be the same because I can't do it.
Right.
And, we have to figure out what we're doing, who we're doing it for, and then we have to figure out who our audience is. Like I said, I probably would dabble in more social media in different, but I know that in order for me to be successful for what I do, I need to focus on my audience. And I need to make sure that what I'm doing is addressing who they are, and I'm able to be creative and give them something.
Right. Well, thank you so much. I can't tell you how much this means to myself and my students and my audience. Future tense, my future audience. Again, I'd like to see 10 or so selections, of different paintings that you feel are most representative of, who you are as an artist. And we'll make sure to show that along with us talking.
Okay, that'd be great. I'll send that.
Thank you so much, Michael. Thank you so much. And maybe next time we'll get an interview with Jack Carl Anderson.
Yeah, he's he's also on the spectrum, and he's a little more difficult to interview.
Yeah. Well, maybe that might take place in a different format where we correspond in writing.
Yeah, that would work.
Something like that. Yeah. But again, thank you so much. I appreciate it, and we'll talk to you again soon.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.